Superglide out here in the garage this morning. Thought we'd do a little review of it. Every time I take it out, people ask me about it and they want more information about it, so I'm going to do a little video on what we have here. This is a 1980 Superglide. I purchased brand new February 1980. I was living in the Washington, D.C. area. $4,500. I think it actually, the sticker was on it like 47 or somewhere around that. They gave me a couple $100 off, but then by the time you had tax and title, out the door was $4,750. At the time, I took a lot of heat for buying the motorcycle. Harley Davidson had sold out or was being managed by AMF at the time. A lot of true Harley people thought AMF was not good for Harley Davidson. All they did was push up production motors and push, not looking at quality as much. I think AMF was aware at it because at your logos, as time went on with the partnership with AMF, the logos here were smaller and smaller. So AMF was not advertising their owner, but they were an owner. At the time, maybe it was bad for Harley, but I know Harley did need a lot of financial backing at that time. They were on the verge of going out of business, so AMF actually kept us in shovelheads for a few more years. At the time when I bought the bike, a lot of people gave me a hard time. They said, man, $4,700 for a motorcycle, what are you thinking? Of course, true Harley people were thinking, hey, it's AMF, you should look around for a used one, spend good money for it. The Japanese motorcycle people were, hey, that's a lot of money, why don't you buy something more reliable and cheaper? Well, reliable and cheaper, maybe, I don't know. I can tell you this, I've got people lined up to give me $4,700 for it any day, plus. And now I know $4,700 is not where it was in 1980, but it's something. And I've enjoyed the bike for the 43 years that I've owned it. When I purchased the bike, it was a lot of money for a bike. We were coming towards the end of the Carter administration. The economy wasn't good. People weren't buying things like motorcycles. I happened to have a good job at the time working, so I had a little cash to spend and always wanted a Harley, so I bought one. Haven't regretted. Obviously, had the same bike for 43 years. Had a lot of others, Harleys, but I also just kept this one because it was the first new one I ever bought. So about 1981, when I had the bike, maybe 82, I was riding it. And one thing I want to tell you, I've never babied this bike. I kept it in the garage. We waxed it, we cleaned it. It's original paint on it, original chrome. But when I rode it like it was meant to be rode. Okay. About 1981, 82, like I said, where I was out riding one day and probably doing some things I shouldn't be doing, riding it hard. And because when you're 20, 21, burnouts and going fast are fun. So anyway, started getting a ticking sound in the motor. Tick, 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 tick. Took it back to Harley Davidson, Washington. They were the dealer I purchased it from, and it was not under warranty. At this time, we've only had 1 year warranty on motorcycles. So they took it apart, looked at it, and said, hey, you broke a valve spring, front cylinder on the head. Okay. Put a new valve in, it was fine, everything's running great. A couple months later, it started smoking real bad out of the front cylinder. So I took it back to them. They said, hey, we think it needs valve guides. We'd have to tear it down and see. So I started thinking about it, and I said, well, it's only got like 3,000 miles on it. I doubt it needs valve guides. I'm going to take it apart myself. So I took it apart, and I found that a piece of the valve spring that had broken previously was actually wedged down between the cylinder wall and the top ring, and it had put a pretty good groove in the cylinder, so that's why it was smoking. So on to Zipper Cycle, which was still in business today. Zipper Cycles helped me with the machine work, and we'll get into that a little bit. But at the time when I bought this motorcycle, backing up a little, the other bike I liked was the Lowrider, the 1980 Lowrider. It had the double tank, it had the 80 cubic inch engine, which was kind of nice. I was kind of newer of the day. Hey, instead of 74, you got 80 cubic inches. One thing I didn't like about it, it had mag wheels. Those were just kind of coming into the market. This one had spoke wheels, Superglide being kind of a little bit stripped down version. So I decided to get the Superglide for two reasons. One, it was in more of my budget. The Lowrider was pushing over $5,000 and it was a little bit more than even I wanted to spend for a new one. Kind of like the idea of the 80 cubic inch, but hey, 74 cubic inches at the time was fine. So anyway, back to my little malfunction with the valve spring. Tore the cylinder down, found the groove, decided I was, happy with maybe Harley Davidson Washington made a mistake. Maybe they didn't see it. I don't want to really blame the mechanic at the time. I wasn't there standing in front of him. I might have missed it down inside there. So anyway, took the jugs over to Zipper Cycles there. They bored them out for me. We ended up going 40 thousandths over. So now I'm back. I've got 80 cubic inches roughly, almost there. So here we go. Didn't repurchase it new as an 80, but we got it now. While we had it down, we went ahead and put in solid lifters, took out the hydraulic lifters. So you get sometimes, if it's real cold out, you get a little tapping, but performance-wise, it made a big difference. When you get on the throttle, it just goes. There's no lag at all. The other thing, the only other modification on the bike is the S&S Super Carburetor. I was up at the York, Pennsylvania, where they manufactured Harleys at the time. And I was working on a job, and I came into the hotel I was staying. This is about late 1980, after I've already had the bike 6 or 8 months or so. And there was a guy out there. It was cold. It was winter time, and he was on a motorcycle. So I'm coming out of the bar, got talking to him because I was a Harley. Talked Harleys for a bit. He goes, "I want to tell you something. I want to show you something." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come out and look at my bike." So I went out there and looked. He said, "This is a new motor that you're going to be seeing." Didn't know it at the time, but that was one of the first Evolution motors ever built. He was an engineer at Harley Davidson, and they take them out, and he said, "We run them. All our engineers run them. We ride weekly, we ride daily, we ride to work." And I was impressed that they were actually out riding in the winter on one of their bikes, testing it and taking them home and doing everything that we do with them. So anyway, I asked him at the time about the carburation on the, because I was having a little bit of issues on the carburation with it. And he said, "Hey man, that carburetor's on there is for emissions. We don't like them. There's nothing we can do about it. All our bikes we test with, and including this bike you're looking at right now, is running an S&S Super carburetor." He says, "Put it on it, your troubles are over." So I did, took his advice, and run the S&S Super ever since. And I gotta say, he was right. It runs a whole lot better with the S&S Super. So anyway, getting back to the bike here a little bit. Rode it, kept it. Couple misconceptions I've heard about these. This bike was made in 1980. 1979 September, the government mandated that speedometers on all vehicles would not go more than 85 miles per hour. So a couple comments I've heard on YouTube and people looking at the bike say, "Yeah, this is kind of a cool bike, but it won't go over 85 miles an hour." I said, "No, the speedometer stops at 85, but the bike goes well over that." Okay, where does it go? I don't know. I can tell you this, the speedometer does stop at 85, and you keep going. Kids, don't do what I did, because it will go somewhere up in the hundreds. I can tell you that, because when the road gets narrow and the trees come in along and you look like you're driving on a piece of spaghetti, you're going fast, okay? Don't recommend it, but it is what it is. Anyway, now that a year or two later, when Reagan came in the office, they did away with that mandate on the 85 mile per hour speedometers. But if you see any of these bikes built 80, 81, if they have the original speedometer, it will stop at 85 miles an hour. A lot of people, and I could have done it when I bought the bike, they would come in, buy a brand new motorcycle, buy a speedometer off parts for 77, 78, fit right in the same hole, and it would have, I think, 120, 150 mile an hour on it. While I have gone over 85, it's not something that I do every day, so that speedometer never really bothered me. I kept it all original. So besides the carburetor and the pipes, of course, because we need to make it sound like a Harley, solid lifters, and we're running 80 cubic inches now. It's pretty much the bike that rolled off the showroom floor. Couple little items I did some braided hoses and things like that, but I really wanted to keep the bike and all this time keep it original. That's pretty much it on this bike. Any questions, put them down below. Like, subscribe. We've got more stuff coming. I'll go review in a minute on what stuff that I have coming. But we're going to crank her up, let her run a little bit, because everybody likes to hear the shovelhead run. Superglide fans. 1980 Superglide. It's been a good bike for me. Still love the looks of it. Tried to keep it the best I could. Maybe pass it on to my son one day. He's somewhat of a biker fan, so we'll see what it goes. But anyway, moving forward, we've got some stuff coming also. We got some information coming on the Fat Boy. We got some things coming up on that, and on the 48. Got a big project kind of on the 48. We'll be going over that. We've got Jeep stuff coming up. We'll see if we can get you some Jeep stuff. And on the Ram, if you want to hear about the Ram, as you know, if you have the Cummins Ram diesel, there's a recall on the transmission and the transmission dipstick, of all things. So we're going to be reviewing that once that recall comes in, because I've got a fix for it that the factory really screwed up on it. But anyway, we've got a fix, and it's easy fix, and it won't really cost you anything. And hopefully my recall will come in and get done so I can get that out to everybody, because I think they'll like it. Anyway, if you like the channel, say so. Subscribe. I can't say how often we're going to get some videos out, but we will get some videos out as soon as I can. And in the midst of doing anything, there'll be Jeep stuff, there'll be Harley stuff, there'll be boating, fishing, hunting, everything old farts like me like to do. So keep it in mind, and we'll try to make some good content for you. Thank you.